What is going on? Alex Shlinsky here for the Get More Clients Show. We're so excited to have you. This is our very first episode, and we so appreciate you giving us your time to watch it, listen to it, and be here with us. We're so excited to share with you our insights. Just a quick heads up, we really care about the quality of this show moving forward. We did have some audio issues on my side, unfortunately, during the show. There are areas throughout the episode that my audio is either muffled or distorted. You can mostly make out what I'm talking about and still get a lot of value in here. But the good news is we fixed it 100%. This issue will not be a problem moving forward or in future episodes, so you can feel free to stick with us. It isn't a perfect first episode, but we do think there's a lot of good insights to take with this. It would have been a shame if we didn't share any of it with you. We really appreciate you bearing with us and appreciate your patience as we build this out for you. Like I said, the next episodes sound much, much better, but overall the show is really good. So enjoy it, and we'll see you on the next one. Let's dive into the show. Hey there, Alex Shlinsky here for Prospecting on Demand alongside Brian Downer. We're so excited to bring to you the Get More Clients Show. Now, this show is going to be brand new. We're going to be bringing you a brand new show every single week. What we're going to do on this show is talk about how to, you got it, get more clients, retain your clients, build better businesses, and frankly, have some fun as you usually know about us. Now, what you can expect is we'll be streaming this live on YouTube and on Facebook. You can watch the entire replay. We're going to expect just about an hour-long show covering just about 7 topics each and every week. As you know, 7 is our magic number, so that's what we're going to be covering here. Now, what you can also expect is we're going to have small clips of the best actual insight from this video every single week on our socials. You can follow us everywhere. We'll share some stuff of that as we go through this. This is going to be our first run through, so if you end up liking this, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and join us today. Brian, what's going on, brother?
I'm excited to do this. We're getting more intentional with our content, more value, going deeper on these calls, not just surface level. So we're going to peel back the curtain and give away all of our best stuff. I'm very excited to do that. And let's just dive in. Let's not wait any longer. We have so much good stuff to talk about on today's episode, specifically 7 client acquisition strategies that we know not have only worked in the past, but we have specifically curated because we know they will work even better in 2021. So let's dive into it, Alex. The first topic is Facebook group prospecting, and I'm going to kick this over to you.
So I'm going to handle Facebook group prospecting, and I want to lay out the other 6 that you can expect as we go through this today. We're going to cover Facebook group prospecting, LinkedIn prospecting, creating your own Facebook group, the relevant industry referral partners, or as we call it, the Dream 100, the interview offer, and then finally paid media, actually running ads. Those are the 7 elements that we're going to cover. So if there's something...
I think you missed one there, buddy. We were doing referral programs as well. That was number 6.
I did cover that.
Okay, perfect. I didn't hear you.
So what you can do is if you're watching this live or on recording, well, only on recording, you can actually click below and you'll see where we actually cover each element, the actual strategy that you're looking for. Like Brian noted, we're going to get kicked off here with Facebook group prospecting. Now, the first thing to identify when you're going with Facebook group prospecting is you really have to have a solidified niche. Now, if you don't have a solidified niche for your agency or coaching program or whatever business you're running whatsoever, you're going to have a really hard time. You're going to have a bad time, as they call it, trying to utilize Facebook group prospecting effectively. Now, the biggest thing is understanding the why behind the group. What is the group that you are actually prospecting in trying to accomplish? Is it meant to be a job board? Is it meant to be a value position? Is it an interview group? Is it a members only group? What is that group for, so you can identify and synthesize the value that you can bring to the table in that group? Speaking of value, very important to note, you can only provide value posts and not bait posts. Now, the bait post strategy was really effective in like 2016 and 17 and 18 when Facebook was just starting and Facebook groups weren't so omnipresent essentially. But the problem with this now is anyone that runs a group knows that people are mining leads in there. Every other day we have someone messaging us, hey, do you know that this guy is trying to generate sales from your group? We don't care if someone does that as long as they're providing value instead of bait posts where it's like comment below type of thing. That is not meant for someone else's Facebook group. It's meant for yours, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But what you can do is you can't DM these people directly. They will DM you because you're providing great value. Now, one really valuable tip that you can implement is when you post value, anyone that likes the post, if you click it, you can friend all of the people that are not currently friends with you in that group. Thus, they'll come into your current profile, which we can build a profile funnel from, which we'll talk about later. And all of these opportunities come to play because you're just providing value, essentially becoming omnipresent in the space, looking as a thought leader, etc. And again, if you DM these people directly or try to bait them directly, you could get banned from the group. So you can't cry over spilled milk here if you are DMing or you're trying to do great posts. Well, you also want
And I would like to add actually to this real quick that the quality of your leads is going to be greatly determined based on the quality of the group that you're in. If it's a free-for-all with just content where people are being self-promoting and no one's engaging with it and it's just a mindless, endless stream of nonsense, not a good group. You want something that is curated, value first, and frankly, paid communities are even better. So people that have some skin in the game to actually be there and be a part of it are a fantastic place because they're already showcasing the willingness to invest in their business.
Amen. What you want to do is keep your posts short. It's very common in this day and age right now to write these really long copywritten posts. But you have to remember that anyone that's on Facebook probably also uses a bunch of other social media models and accounts. And really what's happening is you're causing a massive amount of anxiety strain because you're trying to pull away their attention. When there's these smaller posts, it's hard to grab someone's attention for a 3 to 5 minute read. Keep them short, keep them valuable, and focus on friending the people that are actually engaging. Now, open-ended questions also work extremely well, but again, you have to be careful when you're doing the open-ended questions that they don't lead to bait posts. If you do an open-ended question like, what's your favorite, prospecting tactic, or how are you currently selling this, or how are you overcoming this objection, and then sharing value in the comments with people, that's how you can start to create community and value and opportunities. Also, if you utilize story posts that are thanking admins or thanking the group for the value that they bring, it also showcases to this group owner that you're not there just to create new revenue, but you're also there to lift them up, which they appreciate. Because frankly, when someone else creates a group like we have, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So if you're just kind of baiting that group trying to create revenue, it's not necessarily the best tactic and not a great way to create a lot of friends, frankly. Now, the profile funnel is required for success. I brought this up earlier, and this is a really valuable piece, so I want to talk about it. It's very simple what you have to do on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn to create a profile funnel. The first thing you want to do is have a cover photo with a call to action. Ideally, there's a call to action to a funnel you have, a lead magnet that you have, your own group, whatever it might be. You can book a call directly. One featured photo with a call to action. Now, Facebook used to allow you to have 9 featured photos, which we used for testimonials, but recently in the new Facebook update, they removed that feature. So you might just want to focus on having one cover photo and one featured photo in the far left that will explain the same CTA in your bio, in your pictures, that it's all going to funnel into one place, whether, again, it's your group or your Facebook page or a funnel or a booking call, whatever it might be. Then your actual feed itself, you want to have a mix of value posts, testimonials, and things that engage people. So when they come to you, they know immediately who you are, what you bring to the table, and how they can get in contact with you. This is how you use Facebook group prospecting to bring people to you in your network. Now, the last thing I want to bring up on Facebook group prospecting before we move to the next element is how you can actually create even more value in the group. One of the things to do is to reach out to the owner or the manager of this group, offer value to that person, and see if they're open to doing a Facebook Live with you, where you won't call out any call to action. You're just there to provide value. Once again, just providing value is enough to create new opportunity for you. Now, we're going to cover a lot more about this specifically later in the Dream 100 strategy. Before we get there, let's kick it over to Brian to talk about LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah. So I also will provide you guys with some awesome scripts you can use to actually reach out to an admin. Again, we'll cover that a little bit later in the show, but LinkedIn is my bread and butter. It's where I was able to grow my first Facebook group to over 5,000 people. What? LinkedIn on a Facebook group? Yeah, you invite people off of the platform. Now, let's talk about why real quick LinkedIn is so important. LinkedIn allows you to identify ideal clients and create a list of them based on a very hyper-specific criteria. So it could be industry, their title, their business name, years of experience, all these different things that no other platform provides that to you to have an understanding of who the people are you're actually reaching out to. Now, it's difficult because there's a lot of other people who are just doing this the wrong way, being very salesy, spammy, not using the platform appropriately. So we want to make sure you are saying and doing the right things. We're going to break that down right now. But first and foremost, LinkedIn is so powerful because you can identify exactly who your ideal clients are and then reach out to them in an automated way. So first strategy I have for you on LinkedIn is go to your past connections. If you already have dozens, a few hundred, et cetera, people who you are connected to, that is low-hanging fruit. Those are people you can go back to, say, hey, Alex, I know we've been connected here on LinkedIn for a while. Hope you've been doing great. I've actually got a new project I'm working on, and your feedback would be super valuable. Would you be open to a quick phone call so I could ask you a few questions? So there's a couple of different angles. That is more aligned with a research approach and angle, but it's effective for past connections because you're not really making a direct ask or being salesy, but at least accelerating that relationship, moving it to a phone call where you can see if there's an opportunity to, one, work together or be referred. Now, of course, this comes back to making sure you pick the right people. Who do you want to work with? Because if this is just anyone and everyone, that's bad. We'll do another episode entirely on niching down, why that's important, how to do it. But just keep that in mind. If you're just talking to anyone and everyone, that is also a bad strategy. So go to your past connections. If they are relevant to the industry you want to serve and work in, easy example would be real estate agents or loan officers. If you go back to your past connections, a lot of people probably are already connected to a few realtors. Start there. That is low-hanging fruit. Second thing, Alex touched on this a little bit, but optimizing your profile. And I like to use the analogy of being an insider, not an outsider. A lot of people would tell you LinkedIn doesn't work well for gyms. We had a client who owned his own gym, big muscles, tattoos, backwards hat in his profile picture on LinkedIn, and he crushes it because he's an insider. He is positioned as someone who's a part of that industry, not a bloodsucker trying to come from the outside and like just take money, and this is a money grab for them. So you really need to position yourself in a way that describes who you serve, why what you do is important, and as much as you can, inject that social proof into your profile, whether that is links to video testimonials, you have a link to a page where you have written testimonials, actually getting recommendations, which is what LinkedIn calls testimonials you can have on your page, even just in your experience, adding in the clients that you currently work for. There's a lot of different ways you can add that social proof to your profile, but it's so important in a world where everything is transparent and people are coming and looking at you that you position yourself in a way that makes them feel like, yeah, this person has the solution that I am looking for. And that starts with making sure your profile is optimized. One of the easiest hacks I can give you here is making sure your headline isn't your title, but something specific to what you do, how you help people, and the outcomes you produce. There's a number of examples. More than happy to link those up in the show notes if you want. One of my favorites from a client of ours named Frank Hicks was we help fitness studios generate more leads so they can sip on pina coladas on the beach. And it's fun because it tells people what he does, what the outcome he provides, and then it's a little bit different and fun. So I really like when you can have that. Alex likes to use the word jovial, spirit, and attitude in your content and in your headlines because it's an icebreaker and it's a pattern interrupt that gets people past that initial like cringe of, oh, it's just another marketer. You want to be a little bit different in that context. Now, in terms of list building, like I said, some of the most important elements to start with are their title, their location, and really the industry that they are in. You might have to do a combination of these. A good example would be I worked in the patio furniture industry, but that's not really an industry that you can pick. And it's not something that someone says, hey, I'm a manager at patio furniture or whatever. But they do have their business name, so you can go search by company name as well. And I would throw in the word like patio or barbecue, but you have to be careful because if you use barbecue, you might get barbecue restaurants. So this is something you're going to have to play with. And again, something we really specialize in and go into depth. And we'll even create this for you in our program, Prospecting on Demand. Shameless plug in episode 1 already. But if you want more detail there, you should check it out for sure. Just start with the title. And really what you're looking for is to create, if you're on the LinkedIn's free version, create a list of around 1,000 people because LinkedIn will only show you up to 1,000 people on that list. And the important thing to remember, if you have a massive list, like if you're looking for realtors, but there's 50,000, 100,000 in a certain area, start to segment them based on location so you can get to all of them, but 1,000 at a time. And if you're in Sales Navigator, you can actually go quite a bit deeper and get the whole list. Now, in terms of sequencing and messaging, What I really want to do for those of you who are interested, in the show notes, I will provide a link to our best outreach scripts for 2021. There's a lot of different angles. I do not want to go into too much depth here. I will, though, read off our favorite and the most effective one we've seen, which we call the direct ask. And it goes something like this. Hey, Alex, I'm currently looking for a reliable roofer who can take on additional projects right now. Are you or a colleague you know of interested in and can handle more re-roofs? We're looking for someone to start this month. So it's a really powerful way to make a direct ask and not be salesy. Allow them to answer yes or no. And again, tweak that, of course, based on the industry you're in. But it's a powerful way to just open up the door, go directly for an offer without having to be pushy. Next is really just making sure you have a sequence in place to follow up with them, a series of messages. I highly, highly recommend using a automation tool. We recommend WeConnect. That way you can plug this in. It'll auto connect. It will auto message, and then they can go through this sequence and you just field the positive responses. Then this is so important to everyone. You really need to be tracking these leads as well. Their LinkedIn inbox is not a lead manager. So as you generate these positive replies, as you're reaching out, I want you to have a system, a tool. We recommend something called Go High Level, where you can plug in your leads and make sure you're tracking who they are, when they showed interest, and all those pieces of data that you're going to need to remember when you have dozens, hundreds of leads and conversations, and you just don't want to leave that all in your brain. I promise it will not work. Have those in a place where you can follow up later. And the last thing I'll say, one of my favorite ways to utilize LinkedIn is invite them off of the platform into a Facebook group, which is what we're going to be talking about here next. We're going to be talking about how to utilize your own Facebook group. We call this owned media because it's a platform you own. And again, Facebook could change tomorrow if they wanted to. They always do. But just keep this in mind as you are building your own community. This is a powerful thing you can do. So I'm going to kick that over to Alex, and we're actually going to be sharing some of our own ideas around how we've grown our group and, frankly, where we get a good amount of our clients from.
What an amazing job of teeing that up. It's like we had planned that or something. Incredible. Wow. All right, let's talk about your own Facebook group. Like Brian said, owned media is really valuable. In the previous scenario, we were talking about outbound prospecting with LinkedIn and then not utilizing your own media, but trying to create opportunities through filtering other people's groups. Now, what about building your own group? Let me start off with the why here. What's the purpose of this? Long story short, is to build a community, a culture. I don't know if you realize culture is kind of my hot topic term. I've got it on my hat. I've got it on my shirt. I've got it on the whiteboard here. We got it everywhere, right? I don't have a tattoo of it yet. Maybe one day. Maybe if we get 1 million subscribers on this, I'll get a tattoo of it. Keep planting that on show number 1. We'll see about that. So what's the why behind this, right? What's the why behind owning this group? Having this group allows you ultimately to create your own culture, allows you to build out your lead list, allows you to take unqualified people who are not ready to purchase from you now and put them into a nurture campaign long term in your own group. Now, when we say Facebook group, it doesn't have to be Facebook necessarily. It can be LinkedIn. It could be those other apps. We would advise and recommend Facebook to start just because it's usually the best place. Facebook's been spending a lot of money and time over the last 2 years on trying to build out incredible groups, and it's something that I'd strongly recommend utilizing. Now, what we have here is we're going to break down 5 specific steps of how to actually build a Facebook group. This is what we call the Facebook group setup, growth, and monetization. It's one of the SOPs that we utilize in Prospecting on Demand, and we want to break down each of these 5 steps. So what I'll do is I'll break down the 5 high-level steps for you simply, then I'll kick it over to Brian to see if he wants to add anything else in for you all. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is actually set up the group. Again, you're going to have a name, something like Real Estate Professionals Mastermind Marketing and Sales Secrets. You want to use hot button terms that are going to show up when people search for it on Facebook or even on Google. Number 2, actually get people into the group. Brian was talking about how to do that from LinkedIn. There's many other ways to do that through your current profile. All those opportunities like the profile funnel also matter and are valuable. You can do it through paid ads. You can do it through a bunch of different methodologies, through emails, etc. Number 3, book calls with the members. When you actually have a Facebook group, you can put together 3 questions that are qualifiers. And one of them can be, what are you hoping to gain from this group? What's your email or phone number to give you a call to talk about this, etc. These are opportunities that you can do to either call yourself or hire someone on your team to call on your behalf. Say, hey, so excited to have you in the Real Estate Professionals Mastermind. Really appreciate you joining the group. I wanted to take a couple minutes to ask you about what you're hoping for from this group so I can deliver. Who knows what that leads to? It might end up leading to a sales conversation, might lead to great feedback or referral or testimony. You don't know what it can lead to, and it's very valuable to have that. Number 4 is creating content. Now, we have this thing called the content matrix, which is basically like how we build out our content, which we can share in just a little bit, but essentially just sitting down, putting in 60 minutes of time at least once a week to put together content, all sorts of different content, from open-ended questions to long-form story posts to talking about client successes are really important, and making sure you can utilize it.
Yeah, and let's talk real quick about how, because this is a really valuable point here, guys. The content matrix, essentially get a spreadsheet out, and along the left side have different categories of posts. So Alex just named off a few of them. It could be how-to posts, story posts, mistakes, question and answers, offer posts. There's a bunch of different contexts, but then pick across the top a couple of topics that you want to talk about, not styles of posts, but topics, and then go through those one by one. And maybe have prospecting, sales, fulfillment as your topics. So a how-to for prospecting, a how-to for sales, and a quote or a concept or a Q&A for fulfillment, prospecting, sales. And you can really start to brain dump a whole bunch of ideas at one time.
Love it. The 5th and final element of the steps is to make offer posts. Now, offer posts are essentially, do you want my XYZ? Or a longer form, like question and answer model, which isn't really good for this type of medium without me being able to show it to you. So I would go with the shorter offer post, something along the lines of, do you want my XYZ? Do you want my profile funnel checklist? Do you want my 5 LinkedIn strategies for generating 20 appointments, etc.? Those are usually the best angles for the actual offer posts. Here's the 5 steps again. Set up your group, get people into the group, book calls with members, create content, make offer posts. Brian, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to talk about a couple of the monetization strategies and how they relate to this, because of course we're here to get more clients. How do we actually use the group and not have to be another place where we may build an audience and wait for people to come to us? No, we want to be as direct as possible. So one of the first ways, Alex touched on this, is in your welcome questions, asking them in one of the questions, typically the last one, would you be interested in speaking with someone on our team about how you can grow your real estate business and get 5 to 10 exclusive leads per month using our home method? So I know I paraphrase for the real estate industry, but you could swap that in and out for yours, and 10% or so of people who join the group will say yes. And now that gives you leverage to have something to reach out directly and say, hey, I saw you showed interest. Let's book a time. So they're already coming into the group, raising their hand and sharing that they want to learn how to do something in more depth. Now, the second monetization strategy is, as they join, you should add all of them as a friend. And the reason why is, one, it opens up the gate to message them, but they will also be notified then when you post in the group in their notifications. So you're being omnipresent, really. And when they join, really just sending them that direct message. There's 2 frames here. I'll give you both. One could be, hey, thanks for joining our community. What's the number one focus in your business right now? We'd love to know so we can create more content you want in the group. That's a great frame if you don't really know what they want to learn. But if they said in their welcome questions as they were coming in, you could say something like, hey, Brian, I see you've been a part of our group here for a couple of days. I saw you are working on blank. I'd love if we could set up a time to have a virtual coffee, and I could show you how we could best support you around this and maybe give you some ideas. If you're open to that, let me know. Do you have some time next week? So it's really powerful to, again, use what they said coming into the group as ammo to extend your hand and offer to help them. So that's the second monetization strategy. Alex already really covered the third. That's using direct offer posts and actually saying like, hey, do you want certain thing? One of the best ways we utilize this is actually through masterclasses. So we will offer a paid masterclass, $50, $100, to get people to come to a training. They've showed a willingness to invest in their business. Almost 99, we've never had a refund from masterclasses. There's always value. It's always value stacked. And then it gives us the opportunity to go back to them and see if there's a way we could help them a little bit deeper. And it's a million times, I'm just making up a number here, but a million times easier to get someone who's already given you money to give you money again than it is to get a stranger to give you money. And these people have already shown enough interest to pay you. So those are just a couple of monetization strategies I want you to take to heart if and when you're considering growing a group. But keep in mind that this isn't a beginner strategy either. This is something you're going to need to commit to. I would say that some of the other things we're talking about here already, Facebook group prospecting, LinkedIn, are places you should start, but a group can be something you layer on eventually. So we're going to continue building on the things we talked about already in the show. I'm very excited. We hinted a little bit earlier about the concept of using other people's Facebook groups as a platform to do outreach. And again, your own group is a fantastic trade to go to a group owner and have that to exchange interviews, exchange value. But let's talk a little bit more, Alex, and I'll kick it over to you now. How to sort of identify these relevant industry partners who could be either dream clients, but more than likely dream referral sources who can constantly send you clients.
Love it. So let me tell you a little story. And imagine right now we had an amazing editor that added that awesome like fairy tale music, like so that it makes the story really engaging.
We'll tell Sean's team to take care of that.
Just pretend that happened, okay? And okay, here we go. So here's the story. The way that I created my marketing agency, which is working with personal injury attorneys solely, 100%, is after I had proven my concept with the first attorney, who happened to be my next door neighbor, which maybe that's a good prospecting strategy, just knock on your neighbor's door and see if he'll pay you money. Not actually a good strategy. But essentially, after I had proven the concept with him, I asked him a very logical question at the time that made me think, oh, this is so smart, but I hadn't really considered how valuable this would be long-term for my business. And frankly, how valuable it can be long-term for your business. Now, any attorney, and you can probably parse this out from many other niches as you're considering it, any attorney that has gotten an opportunity to become an attorney has gone to law school, right? Now, in law school, they might have created and probably did very valuable and interpersonal connections with other people at that law school that ended up becoming, you guessed it, an attorney. So if you are able to get inside of this very difficult network to actually permeate, aka the medical niche or the lawyer niche, right? If you're capable of getting inside by working with one of these people, and then you ask them after you've proven the concept, hey, do you know anyone that you went to law school with that I could potentially support with this service as well? Not only did he send me one person, which is what I was asking for when I graduated high school and went to University of Central Florida in Orlando. Hey, Lloyd, do you have any attorneys in Orlando I can do posting for? Not only did he send me the one in Orlando, he sent me someone in Jacksonville, in North Carolina, in California, in New York City. He ended up sending me about 20 different attorneys over the next 3 months to speak with, and more than half of those became $1,000 a month clients for 19-year-old Alex, who had no idea what he was doing in creating this opportunity. And suddenly I had a six-figure potential business, right? A lot of people like to talk about $10,000 equals six figures. Yeah, you have to retain that at least for 10 months in order to hit that. I certainly didn't because I had no idea what I was doing at that time, but still creating 10 clients at $1,000 a piece just by asking for referrals is an incredible opportunity. So the first thing you want to do
let me real quick too, Alex, if you don't mind. I want to share my story around this because this is how I grew my agency extremely quick in the patio furniture industry. I would work with retailers, the people who sold the furniture. So I would go to manufacturers, the people who have a network of hundreds of retailers who sold their furniture. And I would ask them, hey, could I produce some content to show your retailers how to more effectively sell their products on social media? Everyone was interested in that because I was making their life easier and adding value to their retailers. And at the same time, being introduced then to this network of retailers who sees that content, doesn't want to do it themselves, and comes to me and says, Brian, can you do this for me instead? So there's another angle there for sure. But yeah, Alex, let's break down how you actually go about doing this.
So first thing you want to do is just create essentially what we call a hit list. Thankfully, we do not condone murder in prospecting on demand. Hit list in regards to creating opportunities for people that have a bigger network. What you want to do is think of like a semi-permeable membrane, right? Some niches, very specifically the medical niche or the law niche or legal niche, the nonprofit organizations, companies that have large teams, these are all really difficult in some ways to get into. But once you get into them, either because you know Bob down the street, or he went to your temple, or he's part of your church, or he went to your BNI, whatever it might be, once you get inside that semi-permeable membrane, what you want to do is earn their business, but also earn their network. That's the key that we're going for here. So it's hard to get to a doctor, but once you get in with the doctor and prove your concept, getting to his network is easier and significantly more valuable. So what you want to do in creating this hit list is identifying first who do you already know that's inside of a niche that's hard to actually get a hold of, that you can earn their business based on your family name or based on your experience with that person already, and thus prove your concept and get into their network. Now, the religious affiliations are incredibly valuable, something we strongly recommend to all of our clients considering. A lot of people are afraid to kind of mix the religious aspect with the business aspect, but the reason my next door neighbor and I had the opportunity to work together whatsoever is because he went to my temple and I had the chance to ask him straight up when we were there, maybe a little bit inappropriate, but if I could actually get supported by him or he can be supported by me by helping him with Constant Contact at that time, which was the big thing in 2010. What opportunities can you utilize to find leaders in your community that give you the opportunity to scale? Now, besides your current affiliations, your family's affiliations, your religious affiliations, your local community affiliations, what about BNI? Now, BNI is really valuable. There's in-person meetups. Obviously, this year has been challenging, but there's also virtual meetups. There's Toastmasters. There's Facebook groups. There's niche community events that you can go to. Again, most of them are virtual in this coming year, but you can buy a space in those events. Associations, manufacturers, suppliers. You can find leaders like Facebook group admins, and then the websites will always share their names or the leaders' names, which you can reach out to on LinkedIn, by email, by call. I'll give you a quick story on this, and then I'll kick it over back to Brian here as we close out this portion of this training. But I was actually a Miami Dolphins media member. I'll grab the media pass here just to prove this to you. Some people don't believe it when I say it, but here I am, Miami Dolphins media, really cool experience. Now, I'm a huge Dolphins fan, so if you're not and you're a Jets fan or a Patriots fan, please don't watch the show. Just kidding. But ultimately, the biggest thing was when I wanted to become a media member, I didn't have any in. I had no in, but just like we're talking about here with trying to find the leaders, I went on the Dolphins website, I found the person's phone number because it's supposed to be listed because of the NFL's policies, and I literally called that person's office. His name is Jason Jenkins, still works for the Dolphins to this day, and I called their office every single day for 2 months straight, and I would get the same receptionist every single day, but at some point realized, hey, Alex, Jason's not available. I got every objection in the book. Made me a lot better at sales, by the way. But I got every objection in the book. Oh, Jason's not available. He's in a meeting. Can I take a message, etc.? And I would do the same thing over and over and over every single day. I'm a big Dolphins fan. I have a byline with Sports Illustrated affiliate. I want to come to training camp. I want to become a media member. Every single day, I would do this for 2 months straight. And finally, one of the days, she said, actually, Jason is available. I'll put you through to him now. Now, that perseverance, that persistence made me realize I can accomplish anything I want in my life because I'm willing to hear no more times than they're willing to say it. That's the biggest key. Are you willing to hear no more times than they're willing to say it? That is how you create an effective hit list, through perseverance and persistence. And I'll give you this final little tidbit because it's kind of funny as how it ended. Finally get through the hold music after listening to the same receptionist for 2 months. It's like the do before Jason picks up. And during that time, I'm like, oh my God, Brian, I don't know what to say. I was not prepared. I've just been trying to get to this moment and I have no idea what to say. Now, you have to feel comfortable sometimes that in the moment you'll step up to the plate and just crush it or falter tragically and kind of hilariously. So Jason picks up the phone. He's like, Jason Jenkins, Miami Dolphins PR director. How can I help you? I'm like, hi, Alex, fan, Dolphins, Sports Illustrated, media, please. He's like, okay, you're down for Sunday. I'll see you there. Click. And that was it. And here it is.
I love that story. I'm going to give you a little bit something here for listeners and viewers, something tangible to walk away with. Now, I would encourage you before you just go make a direct ask to someone, warm them up a little bit, maybe thank them for what they've done. Again, going into other people's groups, sharing stories around how they've maybe not changed your life, but provided you with some result or outcome. Personally, direct message them, say, hey, love the community you've built. Just wanted to say, keep up the great work. The content's fantastic. Just warm them up a little. But let me give you something really tangible you can use as a message once you've found these people, once you've warmed them up a little bit. I'm going to just read it word for word. And this would be for specifically loan officers. And actually one of our clients who just did this strategy partnered up and became a preferred vendor for the Premier Mortgage Association in America. They got thousands of members. And now her outreach is easy. So easy because everyone wants to talk to her because she is now inside that group. But here's the exact script. hey, Bob, saw you're on the leadership team at the Premier Mortgage Association. I actually work with a number of loan officers to help them secure exclusive, not shared buyer applications. If you're open to it, I'd love to be able to support your community by creating some valuable content that shows them how to tee themselves up for success in 2021. Let me know if you feel that this is something your community would benefit from. And again, making their life easier by providing the people they already need to be providing content to, but doing their job for them, at the same time getting access to that audience. So I think that's a great transition point to now an alternative option for this strategy. Again, building on everything we've talked about here, something I'm very partial to, which is called the interview offer. Now, people have big egos. They love to talk about themselves. They love to be acknowledged for the work they've done and be made feel good about that. And free promotion. Who doesn't want that? So all those things, if you know that, combined together, make a fantastic frame for you to go reach out to someone to feature them in an interview series. Now, if you don't have a community, if you don't have a list, you don't have an audience, there are ways you can get around that. You can publish it to Medium, YouTube, all these different platforms so they get a little bit of exposure. Sometimes people won't even ask where it's going to be published, but just keep that in the back of your head. Typically, if you have your own group, that's going to be a lot easier of a way to tell them where it's going to be featured. And also the context of who it will be featured to. Is it to get their business promoted or establish them as an industry expert or thought leader amongst their peers, right? So just make sure you have the correct frame. But let me break this down for you. Very similar to the industry partners, you need to create a hit list. Who is your dream list of referral sources and or clients? Have that as a list. Have a outreach script. I'm going to give that to you right now. Actually conduct the interview. Take some practice. You're not going to come off natural the first time. You're going to fumble. It's fine. Your biggest growth will be outside of your comfort zone. Do those things that make you feel uncomfortable. If you've never done an interview before, who cares? It's perfect time to start. Practice, get better at it. And then what you can do through the context of that conversation, when you ask the appropriate questions, we like to call these the 3 W's. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? What challenges do you have? Through that conversation, you can identify areas where you can help them. And at the end of that, end the recording, thank them for their time, and then bring that up. Hey, Alex, thank you so much for your time. Now, you brought up on our call A, B, and C. This is actually something we help clients with all the time. And if you're open to it, I'd love to be able to provide you with some ideas as a thank you for your time here so I can show you how to do this. Again, there has to be a genuine need for that. It can't just be forced and you just say that because you say it. Really draw things from that conversation. And if it's either, hey, potentially I could support your community through some content, or potentially work together or exchange interviews and I come to your audience. Again, kind of have that in your mind before you get onto the call and the interview to know who they are and what the benefit would be for the two of you. But after you actually do that, you can transition to the sales call or the referral opportunity. And then as well, the final step would be actually publishing the interviews. I touched on that a little bit at the beginning, so I'm not going to go through that again. But let me give you an exact script you can use that works fantastic. So this one would be, hey, Brian, I'm currently putting together an interview series online to promote some of the top personal injury attorneys in Tampa, Florida. Would you be interested in being featured? We'll just need a couple minutes of your time to ask you a few questions. It looks like you do some great work, so I would love to be able to feature and promote your business. Let me know if you're interested so we can lock in a time. Either way, have a great day. That's a fantastic frame, and frankly, one of the highest response rates of any of our prospecting or outreach messages. So use it sparingly. Only use it for people who you know would be a good client or good fit, not just Joe Schmo down the street. Be selective, but this is a powerful, powerful strategy to be leaps and bounds above in terms of the value you are providing as a stranger online and getting someone to want to actually engage with you and have a conversation. So I'm going to kick it over to Alex now. One of the very often overlooked, actually not even overlooked, a lot of agencies will do this and they only rely on this, but they don't systemize, they don't do it appropriately, and they don't actually have a repeatable process for it, and they rely on it, frankly, too much instead of also combining it with the other things we talked about on this show. So Alex, I'm going to kick it over to you. What is that magic thing?
That magic thing is called the red, green, yellow auto call. Now, some of our clients like to politely correct me that I put it in the wrong order, which is very true. It really is the green, yellow, red call. But because I've been calling the red, green, yellow call, RGY call, for like 2 years, I'm just not going to change it. So just let it be. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, when we're talking about red, green, yellow, we're not talking about weird colors that you probably went to in college. and or the stoplights at your local four-way stop. What we're actually talking about here is a very unique strategy to create opportunity in your business. Now, this is an immensely valuable call. In fact, I will go so far to say that this is the single most valuable call that you can implement in your business right now today if you have any clients. If you don't have any clients, well, then this is completely irrelevant to you, and wait until you have clients to implement this. But I'll explain to you essentially the purpose behind this call. There's 4 opportunities from this call, and all 4 of them are immensely valuable. Some people will kind of overestimate which one's more valuable because of kind of this money focus, but I promise you all 4 of them are equally as valuable. Here's the 4 opportunities from this single call that you can implement right away as soon as you finish this actual recording. All you have to do is go ahead and book this call with your client. It's extremely valuable. Here's the 4 things. 1, testimonial. 2, feedback. 3, referral. And 4, upsell. Now I'm going to break this down very simply how you do this. The first frame that you need to know is how you actually ask for this call. The best way to do this is during a recording conversation or a planning conversation. Considering most of the time recording and planning are the same call, that's why I brought this up. So if you're watching this as we move into 2021, you might want to set this up as a January planning call, or you might want to set this up as a end of year 2020 planning call and audit call. So the first thing you're going to do is do a time and result frame at the front of the call. This call's purpose is to plan or audit the past year or the coming year and talk about making sure your experience working with our X company is nothing but exemplary. Note that you'll have questions for this call and also recap then the biggest wins that you've seen in the last 6-ish weeks. That basically the last month and a half. We achieved this, we got this ROI, we did this thing, we did this thing. Are you excited about it? Do you love it? Essentially, you're buttering them up to be excited about your business and your offer that you're providing to them. The next thing you want to do is go through any planning or auditing that you had. Once that's done in about 10, 15 minutes, you move into the red, green, yellow audit itself, okay? The first thing you want to do is ask them, we want to ensure our clients have nothing but an exemplary service working with us. Feedback's absolutely critical. What do you love most about working with us? Now, if it's positive, which it should be, you say, hey, thanks, really appreciate that. Do you mind if I take that sentence and use it as a testimonial on our site and our social pages? And they say, yes, you got a new testimonial. The next question you want to ask is the more important question. This is really where the opportunities come from. We believe in getting 1% better every single day. We're so thrilled to hear that you love working with us thus far. If there's anything we could do that can improve our service for you, what would that be? Now, there's 4 options for responses here. The most common is, nothing, you're great. When you get that, I want you to push back. I know how uncomfortable it is and how you don't want to do it, but you have to. You have to say, look, Michelle, I really appreciate they love working with us. And if you don't have the answer right now, that's okay. But if you give yourself even 60 seconds to really think, your insight, your actual feedback is the most valuable thing you can provide to help, because it's hard sometimes to see from your perspective, and getting your feedback would really help us a ton. Is there anything we can do to be better? First thing I would tell you to do. Then the other 3 options for response are actually great feedback to make your service better for them and future clients, meaning longer term retention, more payments, etc., happier clients, more testimonials, etc. This third thing is asking for an upsell service. It would be really helpful if you can also help me get more reviews on Google. Or, it would be really helpful if you can get me on display advertising. Or it would be really helpful if you can help me call my past clients and get them reactivated. Well, that's interesting. We actually have that as a service. Can we talk about that? Upsell opportunity. And then the final option for the response is something insane or asinine, which happens every once in a while. Like, can we speak 3 times a day, every day? And can you send me a Payway takeout on DoorDash 3 times a week? That'd be great. No, you can't do that, right? So those are the 4 options for responses. Once you get that, then you can actually audit the red, green, or yellow process. If feedback has been positive, they're in the green. Ask them for a testimonial, ask them for a referral. I'll show you how to do that in a second. If feedback's been so-so or purely negative, they're either in yellow or they're red. If they're red, you have to just bluntly say, looks like you're dissatisfied with this service. I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do to salvage this relationship? If they're yellow, tell them, look, I have high aspirations for the people I work with. I expect you to absolutely love this service, and it seems like you're wishy-washy on it. What can I do specifically to ensure we move you back from the wishy-washy to I love this? Those are really important. If they already told you earlier why they're wishy-washy, utilize that and say, we know that you have this problem here. We will fix that and we'll get back to it. Don't ask for a referral. Don't ask for a testimonial. Don't try to upsell them. Take their feedback and get better. Let's finish this out with the testimonial request or the referral request. Pretty simple testimonial request. Thanks so much for all the positive feedback today. We really appreciate it and look forward to continually serving you. Do you mind if you would shoot a quick 30-second testimonial video sharing your experience with us thus far? We'll give you a little script that you can do so you can feel comfortable with it. And if you don't have time, a quick paragraph is totally fine either way. Thanks so much. Testimonial request. Referral request. As you know, referrals are the absolute best testimony a client can provide. If you would happen to know any niche-specific business owners who could utilize our service just like you, we'd greatly appreciate an introduction. So if you know anyone, please, and they end up working with our business based on your referral, we'll give you either. And then I don't like giving options. Basically, if you're in a blue-collar business, you should give them a discount. If they're in a white-collar niche, give them cash or give them like a gesture of goodwill, tickets to a basketball game, a nice gift card to a nice steakhouse, or something like that, favorite bottle of wine, something that is a really impressive gesture that showcases you're willing to go above and beyond outside of, I'll give you $500 off your next month. Because most of the time, like attorneys or doctors, they don't give a crap about that. So that is the red, green, yellow audit call. It's the most valuable call you can implement right now in your business. And if you take away anything from this video that we did today, please take this, please implement it. It will help a ton.
Yeah, and I'm going to add too that I feel you need to be proactive and not reactive to this. It's critical that you don't go onto a call not knowing how they really feel. You should be ahead of that and sort of from the expectations of the campaign and what you've set on the kickoff call and from working together. Don't be surprised because you'll be on the receiving end of a cancellation email. So be proactive, not reactive. Very important. So let's bring this back to a final thing I want to talk about here on this episode, and that is inbound ads. Now, inbound ads are not an area that we necessarily specialize in when we started prospecting on demand. We were more focused on outbound because you can control that, right? You have the power to control your output, how many messages you send, how many calls you make. But inbound ads are a very powerful way to start bringing leads to you. Qualification can be a challenge at sometimes, for sure. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that either of us are ad experts. We hire for that. And frankly, if you are not an ad expert yourself, you need and should hire someone to help you do this because the learning curve is so massive. We have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, not only into ads, but into coaches as well to learn how to do this the wrong way and the right way. So I'm going to share with you just a couple of high level pieces of advice that you can start to use and execute on if you want to start running ads. The first one is do not be fancy. You do not need a long form VSL, landing pages, all this stuff. No, you can start with just Facebook lead gen forms, which is basically where someone can in Facebook without leaving opt in and you will be able to collect then their name, email, phone number. Now, you could then send them once they opted into a booking page, but what we've seen is typically only 10% of people will actually self-book. You need to be the proactive and the aggressor when you have now their contact information. We're going to talk about this in just a minute as a little bit of a bonus here in this episode and to tee up episode number 2, what you can do to push that relationship forward. But at the very least, now you have someone who raised their hand and showed interest in what you're doing and what your offer is, so you can pull them now into your sales funnel and get on a sales call, qualify them, enroll them as a client. Now, why we really want you to encourage you to do lead ads first is you validate your offer. You make sure what your actual offer is and your ascension promise, what the outcome is you're saying you could provide to someone is opt-in worthy. Now, if you're putting a VSL or a lead magnet or a webinar in front of that, that's a whole other can of worms you have to validate and make sure that works. So don't worry about that just yet. Validate what the actual outcome is of the service and offer you are providing. And there's very simple frames you can use. One, I would call someone out specifically and then talk specifically about what the outcome is. So like, hey, are you a plumber who can handle 5 to 10 more jobs per week? Fill out your name below, and we're looking for a partner in Alabama right now to start with. So something along the lines of who it's for, what the outcome is. We're looking for a partner to start in the next 30 days and play with that. Be fun, be different, but don't overthink that. And again, if you're not an expert here, go seek out the advice. Go into communities like ours, join programs that will support you on this, but don't overthink these ads, okay? Very simply call a person out, a type of person or your ideal client and the outcome you can provide, Tell them if they want that to opt in below. That's it. All right. Now, of course, you would like to test some variations of the image and or video and the copy, but don't overthink it. Maybe pick 2 images, 3 different sets of copy, and test all those to see what actually gets the most and best performance. Now, that being said, next thing you want to consider is the audience targeting. Interest targeting on Facebook, in my opinion, is difficult. What I would rather you do if you work with local businesses is go export a lead to create a custom audience. That's what they call it on Facebook. So you could go to a lead export tool, buy and download a list of all the top 100 cities in whatever state, or maybe in the United States or Canada, whatever, of your niche, compile them. So now you have a custom audience of people you can send your campaigns to. So it's a very powerful way to identify exactly the type of group you want and then show them your ads. Now, as you graduate to wanting to do a VSL, remember, there's a lot of moving parts. What we actually are doing is going straight to the VSL itself, no opt-in, so we can actually, again, validate, is the content worthy enough to get them to be interested in booking. So we're not going to put up that shield in front of them yet. And I do actually have here what the frames are from our current VSL. Now, you could go on Google, search how to put a sales letter together, video sales letter elements. They're more or less going to be the same things. You're going to have some sort of hook. You're going to want to tell them what they're going to learn here, have that social proof and credibility, a personal story to the product. And then really, though, the important thing that I found works best in a training is to tell them 3 to 5 transitions or things that they need to stop doing and start doing. It's basically showing them like, hey, old way versus new way. And if possible, then your secret ingredients to each one. What makes your thing, your offer different or unique? And this could be as simple as naming something you already do with your own branded thing, right? So instead of just, we do Facebook ads, it's like, no, we follow the home methodology to run your Facebook ads, and it's comprised of these elements. So stop just trying to run Facebook ads and start utilizing the strategies of the home methodology. So having a unique secret sauce could be as easy as just attaching that name, but a powerful way to introduce a new opportunity to someone. And then again, more traditional elements of a video sales letter would be the outcomes that they can expect. How will their life be different if they got there? A clear call to action to book a phone call. Now, don't just tell them you're going to get on a consultation call or a sales call. Really, you want to have a value-based consultation or a phone call. So for us, we have an ISA game plan assessment where we're going to literally tell them, hey, we'll get on a phone call with one of our experts. We'll look at your business and provide you with a game plan based on our infinitely scalable agency model. So again, a value-forward sales call, very important. I would also explain what happens on that call, kind of give a preview of what it would look like to work with you. Also, another thing that's included in most video sales letters, who it's for, who it's not for, and then address any final lingering objections. So that was a pretty quick run through, but again, you'll see a lot of those standard elements in any sales letter or video sales letter you could find by searching online. But the most important and critical element was those transitions, right? And then framing your unique process as the solution and the new thing they need to start doing. But again, don't start there. Go with the lead gen formats first and foremost. And now, without further ado, let's Alex tee up. I'll turn this over to you, the next episode and what we're going to dive into there, but also the one strategy that no one talks about that ties everything that we just talked about here together today.
So we broke down 7 valuable outbound and inbound strategy that you can utilize to get more clients in 2021 in a coaching business, marketing agency, or frankly, any business that you run right now in the information space. Essentially, how do all of these come together to build a cohesive strategy? Because a lot of you might have watched certain elements of this and picked up certain things that are like, I can implement that or valuable. But it's not like we shared something groundbreaking that you've probably never heard of. Maybe the RGY was groundbreaking. Maybe some of the referral ideas were groundbreaking. But a lot of the stuff you might have heard already. So how do you put them all together? And how do you make sure that you go from interest in terms of outreach to actually getting people on the phone and closing the deals? And that model is through warm calling. Now, before you say, I hate cold calling, I don't want to do it, blah, 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 understand the semantics of why we specifically define cold calling versus warm calling and why we didn't even talk about cold calling at all. Cold calling is a viable outbound strategy. It's just not very fun or effective long term, and it's pretty annoying. Warm calling is most valuable because what you're doing is utilizing all the outreach you've already done as your background for why you're giving them a call to make your digital connection more in person. And that is what we're going to be focusing on in call or show number 2. This show number 2 and second episode is going to be all focused on conversion-based tools and strategies to take your leads from I'm not interested or maybe I'm interested to getting on a call and closing a deal. We're going to show you the appointment reminder sequence, our no-show sequence, how we do lead tracking, warm calling, metrics to track and increase show-up rates. Our entire prospecting in a box formula is going to be broken down for you in our very next show. If you enjoyed this, let us know. Please hit that subscribe button. Let us know if you have any feedback in the comments, and we really appreciate your time. Brian, thanks so much for joining us today, man. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got it. We're going to be more intentional with our content moving forward into 2021. See you on the next one.